Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Israel Wake Up. This is our Women's Advanced Bible Study night. Uh, the story we'll be dealing with is in Second Kings with Adler. Okay, so you can go to our YouTube channel to Israel Wake Up. We have over 100 or so videos that you can look at and examine the information, get the meat out of it. Okay, we're on every Thursday night, 7 to 9 Central Time PM. And for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Redeemer, Lord of Hosts. Shalom and welcome to the channel. Welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study. Okay, we're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, Psalms. We have some women's health. Then we do some current events. The need to know information. Then we open it up for any questions or comments, dialogue. And then we go into our topic, which is Second Kings, story about Adler. Okay. This moment of silence for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we come before Thee at this hour and at this time to thank You and to praise You for Your strength and for Your love and Your great power. Oh Lord, we come before Thee with praise because we understand now who You are and we appreciate You. We appreciate You. We appreciate Your love. We appreciate Your wisdom. We appreciate Your consistency. And we appreciate Your presence and understanding, patience and understanding. And we understand Your position in heaven and on the earth. Therefore, we come this day seeking wisdom, consistency of spirit, patience, and understanding. Peace be unto you. Okay? Somebody going to read a psalm?
Go ahead, Brother Leonard, please.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to read Psalms 8. God's glory and man's honor. So David, Psalm of David. Say, O Lord, our Lord, how excellency is Thy name in all the earth. Who has set Thy glory above the heavens? Out of the mouth of babes and the sucklings hast Thou ordained strength because of Thy enemies. Thou hast Thou mightiest still the enemy and the avenger. When I consider thy heavens, the work of Thy fingers, the moon and the stars which Thou hast ordained, what is man that Thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that Thou visited him? For Thou hast made him a little Lord in the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Thou madest him to have dominion over the works of Thy hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet, all sheep and oxen, yea, and the beast of the field, the fowl of the air, and the fish of the sea, and whatsoever passeth through the paths of the seas. O Lord, our Lord, how excellency is Thy name in all the earth. Okay, so that's Psalms 8. Anybody have any comments on that? Okay. We'll go to our women's health.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Please know that the information that is shared is intended for general, informational, and educational purposes only and is not medical advice or recommended treatment. Tonight's discussion is on the benefits of eating healthy. Following a healthy diet has many benefits, including building strong bones, protecting the heart, preventing disease, and boosting mood. A healthy diet typically includes nutrient dense foods from all the major food groups, including lean proteins, whole grains, healthy fats, and fruits and vegetables of many colors. Food is what fuels you and delivers the calories and nutrients your body needs to function. If your diet is deficient in calories or one or more nutrients, your health may suffer. If you eat too many calories, you may experience weight gain. People with obesity have an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, heart disease, liver disease, and kidney disease. Diets rich in highly processed foods may also increase the risk of depressive symptoms, particularly among people who get less exercise. If your current diet is high in ultra processed foods and beverages, but low in whole foods like vegetables, nuts, and fish, you're likely not eating enough of certain nutrients that may affect your overall health. Although certain people need or choose to avoid particular food or adopt diets for health reasons, you don't have to follow any specific diet to feel best. Healthy eating simply means fu- fueling your body with mostly nutritious foods. Even though calories are important, your primary concern should be nutrients. Try to mostly eat foods that are high in nutrients like protein, fiber, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals. These foods include veggies, fruits, nuts, seeds, beans, fatty fish, and eggs. To eat healthier, start by making small changes. Make each meal or snack contain nutrient dense foods and try to avoid processed foods. Healthy eating does not have to be complicated. You can nourish your body you can nourish your body while still enjoying the foods you love. Food is meant to be enjoyed, not feared, counted, weighed, or tracked. I will be reading Psalms 103, verses 1 through 4. Bless the Lord's holy character. Verse 1. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases. 4. Who redeemeth thy life from destruction, and who crowneth thee with loving kindness and tender mercy. Tonight's discussion was on the benefits of eating healthy, and I read Psalms 103, verses 1 through 4. Bless the Lord, holy character. Shalom, everyone.
Okay, appreciate that information. Okay, we go to some current events. Okay.
War with China that's left many farmers in our area struggling. Their collateral damage in President Trump's trade war with China. Farmers have been slammed by China's decision to slash U.S. imports.
In other news, amid the escalating trade tensions between the world's two biggest economic powers, China, world's largest soybean buyer, has put purchases of American supplies on hold.
China just ended America's $164 billion farming empire, the very same farming empire that was once the heartbeat of American agriculture. If you think this is just another trade squabble between China and the US, think again. This isn't some petty argument over tariffs. China is pulling the rug out from under US farmers, and it's no accident. For years, China has been gobbling up American crops, soybeans, corn, pork, you name it. And now China isn't just cutting back. It's playing a long game. This video is going to lay out exactly why China is slamming the brakes on US crops, how it's throwing American farmers into a financial pit, and how countries like Brazil and Argentina are having the last laugh. But the real truth, it's about to get a whole lot worse for the US. Let's get started. Let's rewind for a second. The US and China have been locked in this trade war, right? Both sides slap tariffs on each other's goods like they're at some high-stakes poker table. China's been taking a serious hit, but here's the twist. It's not just about retaliation anymore. This is a strategic move. Why bother buying expensive US crops when Brazil and Argentina are practically handing them over at a bargain? China knows this, and it's why the soybean deals that once made up 40% of China's imports from the US are now barely scraping 18%. That's a massive blow. And no, this isn't just a blip. This is the beginning of something much bigger. This decision is not a knee-jerk reaction. It's a calculated shift. China's economic strategy goes far beyond merely punishing the US for its tariffs. This is a long-term play for economic independence. By reducing its reliance on US imports, China is diversifying its agricultural sources. The aim is to avoid being held hostage by any single country. And why not? The global agricultural market has changed drastically in the past decade. The competition is fiercer, and China isn't going to stick with the old guard when new, more competitive options are available. China isn't just tightening its grip on what it imports, it's tightening its grip on how it feeds its population. But we'll get to that in a second. First, let's explore how US farmers are holding up. And spoiler alert, they're not doing great. So here's the thing. US farmers are losing billions. This isn't just a little slap on the wrist, it's a financial body blow. You think they can bounce back from this? Not without some serious restructuring. Imagine you've spent years building your entire business model around a massive customer. Let's call it China, who's now shopping at a competitor's store. Ouch, right? That's what's happening. Farmers aren't just facing falling prices, they're facing a full-blown market shift. Soybean prices have dropped, corn isn't selling like it used to, and it's looking like US farmers are going to be digging themselves out of a hole for years to come. Rural communities are reeling. Job losses? Check. Farm equipment sitting idle? Yep. Local economies? Struggling to keep the lights on. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel for more videos about China's development, power, and influence on the world. Let's continue now. What's especially concerning is how the ripple effects are being felt beyond the farm. Small town America, once thriving on agricultural revenues, is now struggling with fewer jobs and less money to spend. The local businesses that once catered to farmers, from seed suppliers to repair shops, are facing an existential crisis. As farming declines, so too does the backbone of the rural economy. It's not just farmers that are being hit. It's entire communities that are watching their way of life crumble. To make matters worse, these farmers aren't just dealing with a China-sized hole in their profits. They're now facing a rising tide of competition from Brazil and Argentina, who have capitalized on this shift and positioned themselves as major players in the global market. Brazil's dominance in crop exports is no accident. They've been investing heavily in infrastructure to get their goods to market faster, cheaper, and more efficiently. And now, they're cashing in. US farmers, they're scrambling to find new markets, but it's a tough sell. And that's the crux of the issue. China has turned to other countries.
Okay. Any comments so far?
Now, if you thought Brazil was just some soccer powerhouse, you've missed the memo. Turns out Brazil's got a serious agricultural game, and they're playing it like pros. So how did they outsmart the US and steal China's crop business? It's all about infrastructure. Brazil's government has been pumping billions into upgrading its ports, railways, and roads to get crops to China faster, cheaper, and more efficiently than the US can even dream of. Brazil isn't just growing crops. It's got a high-speed agriculture system in place. And guess what? That means it can offer a better deal to China. Why settle for expensive US soybeans when Brazil's right next door offering a discount? But it's not just about price. Brazil's playing the long game too. With massive expansions in farming operations, they're doubling down on producing the crops that China wants. Meanwhile, the US is still stuck in the past, fighting tariffs and bureaucratic red tape. Brazil's agriculture industry has exploded over the last decade, and it's no accident. While US farmers are struggling with the effects of a trade war, Brazil's been building infrastructure that allows them to export crops on a massive scale. And now, Brazil's the top supplier of soybeans and corn to China. But wait, there's more. Brazil's government has been actively encouraging agricultural growth in the Amazon and other regions, tapping into new land that's been off limits for years. The result? Brazil's not just keeping up with demand, they're outpacing it. While the US is sitting on its hands, Brazil's taking full advantage of a global market that's craving its products. Meanwhile, China is just waiting for the best deal, and right now, Brazil's the one offering it. But the question remains, is China's move away from the US just about convenience, or is there a larger strategy at play? Let's dive into China's self-sufficiency strategy next. China isn't just sitting back and letting other countries feed them. They're making moves to feed themselves. China's pushing full steam ahead with a massive push for food self-sufficiency, and this time, they're not asking for permission. For years, China's been working on reducing food waste, pushing local production, and investing in genetically modified crops. Why? Because they're done with relying on anyone else. They're trying to grow more of their soybeans, corn, and pork, and they're determined to cut back on imports. It's not just about politics anymore. It's about survival. If China can ramp up domestic production, they don't need to keep depending on US crops. And they've been working on this for a while now. They're passing laws to reduce food waste, encouraging domestic farming, and even dumping money into GM crops.
Okay. Any comments on that? Looks like to me they're trying to bring America to its knees. You know, they got other reasons, but BRICS is part of, Brazil is part of BRICS as well as China. So the two of them is teaming up to bring this place down. Okay, any comment?
Shalom. And we don't hear it in the U.S. as such as we hear it through the messages that you give us here, the current events and need to know. They're not trying to get America all in an uproar about it. It seems as if they're just trying to let it just play out and not make everybody in hysteria, like when the Wall Street fell and the Depression came and all of that, because it's happening. We're hearing it's happening, and you can see it happening if you turn to, again, a lot of the world news, because locally they're not putting any type of expression on it to gather the emotions of people and how they would react right now. But I think it's going to turn here as soon as January 20th comes, where everyone is going to be saying it more than those that are saying it now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just, and a lot of it has to do with people have got the wrong information. Like I said, they over in the New Testament and they're trying to line up what's happening in the world with what was said in the New Testament, and that ain't working. That's what got a lot of them off.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Anybody else? Okay. I thought this right here was pretty interesting too.
Now let's talk about the Arctic, the northernmost region of the Earth, home to polar bears, seals, and walruses. It is a unique habitat and it covers a vast area, about 16 million square kilometers. Every year, the Arctic witnesses a seasonal event. Winter comes and layers of frozen seawater build up. This forms a thick ice cap. It peaks in March. About 3 months later, summer comes and the ice begins to melt. Finally, by September, it is gone. Now, this is a natural process, and it has been this way for thousands of years. But in recent decades, this event has changed dramatically thanks to climate change. It is warming the world, including the Arctic. Its sea ice is declining by more than 12% every decade. That's about 80,000 square kilometers of ice, roughly the same size as Austria or the Czech Republic. That's how much ice the Arctic is losing every decade. So this white wonderland is quickly turning blue. In fact, this ominous milestone is coming sooner than expected. An alarming new report is out. It says that the Arctic will have its first ice-free day in 2027. This is unprecedented. When winter comes, some ice will return, but this pattern wouldn't continue for long. Within the next 2 decades, the Arctic will be completely ice-free, and the world will witness the demise of this frigid pole. Scientists say this is inevitable. So what does it mean for us? An ice-free Arctic, what does it mean? To answer this, let's first understand the climate emergency here. The sun never sets in the Arctic during summer. It is constantly heating the region. But the ice reflects the sunlight into space, and it acts as a great heat shield for the planet. But this ice is depleting. 90% of the old Arctic ice is gone. What we have today, what we have now, is ice that is 5 or more years old, plus new ice is declining every year. In its place, there is more ocean. And ocean does not reflect sunlight, it absorbs. And it creates a vicious spiral of heating. Less ice means more heating and more ice melting. This is speeding up global warming, and it is warming the Arctic even faster, about 4 times faster than the rest of the world. This means more climate disasters, a fragile ecosystem, vanishing habitat, and brewing geopolitical tension. Today, if we were to ask you which regions pose the biggest foreign policy challenges, you may say China or Russia. But believe it or not, soon it will be the Arctic. Look at the 8 Arctic states. They're part of the Arctic Council. They have long collaborated on scientific research. But after the war in Ukraine, their meetings have reduced. Cooperation with Russia has taken a hit. And this has hampered progress on the Arctic emergency. It has turbocharged militarization in the region. Russia represents 53% of the Arctic coastline. All the other Arctic states are part of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So it's Russia plus NATO here. And all of these countries have Arctic ambitions. As the ice melts, NATO borders are expanding, and Moscow fears encirclement. This could lead to future conflict. So nations are jockeying for political influence here and economic position as well. That's the other dimension. You see, international waters do not have any jurisdiction. It's like first come, first serve, and everyone wants in. Not only the Arctic nations, even countries like India and China. As the ice melts, new routes are opening up. These new routes are cutting down travel time for ships. They're connecting East Asia to Europe and North America. Plus, this Arctic region is rich in oil, gas, and minerals. So more accessibility will lead to more commercial exploitation. Long story short, a melting Arctic is not one issue. It affects every facet of life. Scientists say we can delay it if we cut carbon emissions dramatically. That is
Okay. Any comments on that? Like I was saying before, just leave it up to the Lord of hosts. You know how to do you. So nobody figured that the Antarctic melting and all that, all the things that it would cause an effect to it. So it changed the whole dynamic to who controlling what and all that. And like she said when you first started, it's 6 million kilometers of land. Like he said, when the land came up out of the water in the beginning, he said it was good. So you got all this land, virgin land, that's appearing now on the planet. The ice not on it anymore. And then she said by 2027. Imagine that. That's 2 years from now. That means a lot of it already melted. Any comments?
It sounds like the work of the Lord of hosts. That's a good thing. Yes,
Right.
sir.
Okay, shifting the power from over here. It's going over there. You can see it. It's all everything going back over there. Okay. Got some need to know information right here. Okay.
7 times.
Bank failure has wiped out the life savings of thousands of American families this month after a fintech bank operator went belly up and disappeared with the money of its customers. Court documents suggest that up to 10 million accounts have been affected, but regulators say there's nothing they can do to solve the problem. The U.S. banking system is crumbling, and today we're going to reveal another facet of the ongoing collapse. So stay tuned with us until the end of the video. The promise of bank insurance, a principle of U.S. consumer protection since the Great Depression, is now being tested by a crisis involving online lenders with hundreds of millions of dollars of deposits between them. This month, thousands of innocent, unsuspecting American families have lost millions in savings and are now staring at empty accounts after fintech firm Synapse, once thought to be a safe bank operator, has gone bankrupt. Numerous customer accounts have been frozen, preventing people from taking their money out of the system. Most depositors have no idea where their money is gone, whether they will get any of it back. They believe their accounts were as secure as any savings account could be, but now they're finding themselves in the middle of a financial black hole. Former Texas schoolteacher Kayla Morris is one of them. For almost 2 decades, she saved every dollar she could to buy a home for her family. Then last year, Morris and her husband sold the house and stowed away the proceeds, $282,153.87 in what they thought of as a safe place, an account at the savings startup Yotta held at a real bank. "I can't believe it," she said, her voice breaking in court. "I've worked my whole life for this money, and now it's gone. What do I do now?" Kayla is just one in millions of bank customers affected by the collapse, which has led many to lose their trust in the entire banking system. The turmoil started in the spring with the bankruptcy of Synapse Technology, the kind of company you've probably never heard of unless you've inspected all the fine print of your account statements. The company operated banking software for fast-growing online lenders, including Juno, Yield Street, and Yotta. Those banks are backed by some of Silicon Valley's bigger venture capitalists. They offer accounts that charge lower fees and pay far higher interest rates than your traditional brick and mortar banks. Their modern websites guarantee insurance from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp, the U.S. agency that pledges to pay back lost funds.
Anybody heard anything about this? This last bank collapse?
No, sir.
Nobody heard nothing about it. It's amazing how they're keeping it out of the news. Okay. There's something.
Yes,
So
sir.
with that being said, I'll open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions, comments about anything, or something you want to talk about that you came across, you heard on this channel? Nothing. Okay. Let me see what we got here. Yeah, got this right here. It just happened about, I think, maybe a couple of hours ago, 3 or 4 hours. Let me play it.
Some breaking news from the United States for you now. A powerful earthquake has been detected off the coast of California. The U.S. Geological Survey says it was a 7 magnitude quake, which was recorded at a depth of around 10 kilometers. And this earthquake was detected nearly 100 kilometers southwest of Ferndale. Now, authorities have been issuing a tsunami warning, and they are warning people living along the coast to be aware of the possibility of dangerous waves. And we also know that just right now, the governor of California is meeting with emergency state officials about this. But just to recap, that this is what we're watching are aerial shots from the area where this earthquake has been detected. This is just off the coast of California, with the US Geological Survey saying that this was a 7 magnitude quake recorded at a depth of 10 kilometers. And we're just monitoring these live aerial shots from California. Now, this earthquake was apparently detected nearly 100 kilometers southwest of Ferndale, with authorities issuing a tsunami warning. And of course, as you can see, people who are living along those, and apologies if these shots are just going a little bit unsteady, but authorities issuing a tsunami warning. They are warning those people who are living along that coastline that we're looking at now to be aware of the possibility of dangerous waves. So they are just warning the possibility of dangerous waves and the possibility of a tsunami, and arguably asking for people who are nearby just to move away, so that. And just to let you know, these are pictures coming from the Bay Area.
Right, so this just recently happened about, like I said, 4 or 5 hours ago. When you understand what a tsunami is, it's when an earthquake happens in the ocean. And then it displaces the water go out. And then when the water come back in and giant tidal wave. So that's why they're giving us some warning. People are warning because they're expecting a tsunami, expecting the water to come back and come inland, like tearing up everything. So this just happened on the west coast of America. Okay. Play this here, then we go to 2 Kings.
Trump never visited Africa as president and has openly denigrated it.
Using vulgar language, President Trump today questioned why the United States would allow people from Haiti and Africa into the country, describing those places using an expletive while suggesting people from Norway might be more acceptable.
Why do we want these people from, quote, all these shithole countries here?
There is a new kid on the block.
China is Africa's largest trading partner and has already spent billions of dollars. It's a fantastic example of how Europe has lost the game and has lost its upper hand in Africa. It's game over. Sorry, it's game over.
We have to admit that China is actually taking the lead here, not the
But as China and Russia expand their influence in Africa, will Trump reverse this trend? What should Africans expect from the Trump 2.0? Before you think this is just another American story, this might be the most important video you watch this year for Africa's future. Let me tell you why with the story. In 2018, while at Cameroon, our family textile business was thriving. 3 families, 50 workers, exporting traditional prints to America. We were actually living the African dream. Now, if you know about the American dream, think of the African version of the American dream. We were actually living the African dream there in Africa. Then the trade policies changed.
We've been going to the US and you meet very potential buyers, and the first thing you tell them is, I'll ship you a full container duty free, and it's wow, you know. And now it's like that has been scrapped off.
And guess what? This story isn't unique to Cameroon. From Cape Town to Cairo, African businesses are holding their breath right now, wondering what Trump 2.0 means for them. I remember watching my uncle gather our workers, people whose children he had watched grow up. Till 15 of them no longer had jobs. Our US exports had simply become too expensive overnight. Now that story is about to become relevant again, and here is why. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal to you a shocking new tariff plan that will change everything for African businesses. I'm also going to reveal to you why some African leaders are secretly celebrating some aid cares. We are going to see the Russia-America-China triangle that is reshaping the continent. And I will give you 3 specific actions you need to take starting tomorrow. But first, let me show you something shocking about Trump's first term that nobody is talking about. Now let's dive into something that really matters. Every year, Africa exports billions of dollars worth of goods to the United States, from Ghanaian cocoa to Ethiopian coffee, South African diamonds to Nigerian oil. Now, here's something that might surprise you. During Donald Trump's first term, he launched something called Prosper Africa. Now, this initiative is something unexpected. It pledged to double two-way trade and investment between the US and Africa. Sounds good, right?
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes.
But why would an American first president do this?
Good news. Now there is a new
United States of America is going to be very active in Africa as a reaction to China and Russia, and as a reaction to other players.
It wasn't about helping Africa, it was about competing with China. Let's look at the numbers. China-Africa trade in 2023, $282 billion. US-Africa trade in 2023, $83.6 billion. Remember my family business we talked about earlier? We actually benefited from this competition. In 2019, we received American investment through Prosper, which helped us upgrade our machinery. But then Trump's new proposed promises would change everything.
During his campaign, Trump vowing to set a 10 to 20% tariff on imports from everywhere else.
A universal 10% tariff will be added on all foreign goods. There is also the possibility of ending AGOA altogether. Remember I talked about our family business. Back in January 2020, our family business was actually hit by now, most African countries that are in AGOA have not yet been affected. I can give you first-hand experience of what happens when you are in AGOA and then they suddenly cut from you. It's a nightmare.
So we see what Trump doing, right? He's we keep hearing, I keep showing videos over and over again how they saying by 2030, 80 to 90% of the population gonna be in Africa, right? So they know that, but this agenda, Project 2025, their whole objective is to try to cut that off or subvert it. Because if it happens, it's going to be the downfall of America, and it's going to just enhance what's going on with China and Russia. So like he said, in day one, he's coming in, he's going to bring in these policies, and he's going to try to disrupt coming to Africa, especially over inside here. So keep your eyes on that. Any comments on that? Okay. Like I said, we'll deal with 2 Kings, chapter 11. Does anybody know who Atla is? It's Athalliah. You ever heard of Atla? Attila, whatever it is, how they say that name.
No, sir. No, sir.
Athalia. I say Athalia. I may be incorrect with that.
Right.
But I say Athalia.
Okay. You ever heard? Anybody heard
Lord
of
of Ahab and Jezebel.
Okay.
Yes, and
Daughter
she
of
reigned on.
Ahab.
What's that?
Excuse me, Sister Michelle. Go
The
ahead,
daughter
Sister
of
Michelle.
Ahab and Jezebel, and she was on the throne for a little while. I'm not quite sure how many years it was. After her son Azaziah, I may be saying that incorrectly, was killed.
Okay.
And ended up killing her, I think, her only grandson, which was her son's son. And that's how she got on the throne. And she also worshiped Baal.
Okay.
I say she was just as wicked as her mother Jezebel.
Okay. Anybody else?
Shalom. I was just going to piggyback off the Sister Michelle. I read the same thing. That she was like a bad influence to her husband.
Okay. So we'll start reading. I'm in chapters 11 of 2 Kings. It says, and when Adla, the mother of Ahazah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. Right? So you know what seed royal is? Anybody know what seed royal is?
Son?
Seed royal. Charge. Chapter 11, verse 1, the last two words. Anybody know what that seed royal is? I guess.
I guess the word itself just kind of
I guess,
explains it.
yeah.
It's a seed of a royal king, a seed royal, but that's my guess.
My guess also. A son out of a royal lineage, out of David's lineage. Am I incorrect?
Right. So you go back to 2 Samuel, right? Go to 2 Samuel, and you go to chapter 7. So the Lord of hosts got a covenant with David, right? And it says in chapter 7, starting at verse 11, verse 12, it says, Nathan told David this is the covenant that God got, that the Lord of hosts have with David. He says, and when thy days are fulfilled and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee. We shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. And I will be his father. He shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the striped rods of men and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before them. And then here you go. He talking to David in that house. So that's the seed royal. All the boys, sons that come out of David's lineage. The seed royal. Right here. It says, and thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever. That throne shall be established forever. So, like I was saying before, when you understand that that's the tender mercies that you hear in the different parts of the Bible, especially in the Psalms, Israel's tender mercies. That's what Israel's tender mercies is. That's how you know David the Messiah. So everything that happens is centered around David. Just like what Solomon did. When Solomon, when the kingdom was split, because of what Solomon done, he kept a tribe for David, on account of David. He separated the other 10 tribes, but Judah and Benjamin and Levi he kept. And Judah is called, that's where David was from. So he kept the southern kingdom together on account of David. So when you understand what these people have done with the scriptures, when they concoct the New Testament, if you go to Matthew, right? So they understand that more than we even know, so-called Hebrew Israelites. But you go to Matthew chapter 1, verse 1, says the very first verse, the book of the generations of Jesus. See that? Right here. Dead cat on the line right here. The book of the generation of Jesus, the son of David, son of Abraham. So right here, they have to, in order to make this book work, they had to connect Jesus to David because the Most High got a covenant with David. So they had to put him they had to put him as part of the seed royal out of David lineage in order for to make it work. And like I said before, if it's a lie, then it's a breach in Israel. And that's where we at. A lot to do with why we in the predicament we in. Because right now, it's a breach in Israel because they done set a king, a fictitious king in David's lineage. It's not supposed to be in David's lineage. And that's where we at. Okay, and people are always talking about the curses. You know, the death's bigger than the curses. Okay, so anyway, so the seed royal is when you understand that when Solomon got on the throne, David passed away. Solomon got on the throne. All the seeds that Solomon gonna have because he followed David. David had other sons, right? But when David passed away, it was revealed to David through the Lord of hosts and through his prophets that Solomon was going to take his place. So once Solomon became the king, all the sons that Solomon had were seed royals. And then keep going. If David, whoever followed, whoever came after Solomon and got on the throne, all the kings, all the sons that he have, they potential to be on the throne of David. So they all seed royal. So it just goes on and on like that. And like I said, these people understand that, but they didn't deflected us from getting that understanding, but that's the understanding. It's always got to be, that's why when they was in Babylon, we told them, let's look at that right quick, then I'll start reading. So if you go to, when they was in Babylon, Jeremiah told them they was going to be there for 70 years, right? So after the 70 years up, a seed out of David lineage got to show up. A king got to show up. And like I said, when you understand that, it can't be JC because he wasn't nowhere around. So Daniel 9:25 can't be talking about him. You got to find out who that seed royal is. So you go to Haggai, right? The time is came. It's up. So it says, Haggai chapter 2, verse 1. So the 70 years is up. It's time for them to go back. So a seed out of David's lineage got to be identified. So it says, in the 7th month, in the 120th day of the month, came the word of the Lord. See that? Because he got the covenant. That's why it's the word of the Lord. He got the covenant with David. He says, in the 20th day of the month, came the word of the Lord by the prophet Haggai, saying, speak to Zerubbabel. There he is right there. That's the seed. Speak to Zerubbabel, son of Sethel, governor of Judah, king of Judah. David is out of Judah, right? And Joshua, the son of Jozadak, the high priest, and to the residue of the people. So Joshua is out of Aaron's lineage. He got a covenant with Aaron. But the high priest gonna always be out of Aaron lineage, and the king gonna always be out of David lineage. So in order for them to go back from Babylon, a king got to be identified out of David lineage, and it's Zerubbabel. Just like now, we over here, without a king. So when we get ready to go back, the king got to be identified. So let's look at that right quick, then I'll start reading. So you go to Isaiah. Okay. Go to Isaiah chapter 11. So we go to chapter 11. Like we've been over here over 2,500 years. We know 2,000 years. So it says in chapter 11, verse 10, in that day, there shall be a root out of Jesse. There you go again. It's David. It's David's daddy. A root out of Jesse, we shall stand for ensign to the people, and to it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. So that's David. David's going to be resurrected. He's going to be our king. Verse 1, chapter 11 and verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse. David's daddy. So it can't be but one person, David. See, there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall go out of his root. That's David. And then we see in the next 3 verses, we see the 7 angels. It's in the spirit, which is the angel. The angel of the Lord shall rest upon him, and the angel of wisdom, and the angel of understanding, and the angel of counsel, and the angel of might, and the spirit of knowledge, and the angel of knowledge, and the angel of fear of the Lord. It's all 7 of them. 3, he shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither shall he reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with iniquity for the meek of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. So one more verse. Verse 4 says, this is Isaiah chapter 11, verse 4. This killed JC, right? It says, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor. So you go to 2 Samuel 23 when he resurrect David, because he promised David he's gonna resurrect him in the last days. So if we go to 2 Samuel, okay, 22. 2 Samuel 22, and you'll see it. It says, 2 Samuel 22, verse 18, I start. David was delivered when he died. And we talked about this. The angels, was spirit of those giants tried to hold him on the earth, so he came ascend back to heaven where he came from. It says, 18, David said, he delivered me from my strong enemy. That's these giants, spirit of these giants. And from them that hated me, for they were too strong for me. They prevented me in the day of my clamor. That's when he died. It shedded his body. But the Lord was my stay. He brought me forth also into a large place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. See that? Tender mercies of David. 21. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness. See that? And according to the cleanliness of my hands, how he recompensed me. So he imputed righteousness on David. Verse 25. Therefore, the Lord hath recompensed me according to my righteousness and according to my cleanness of my eyesight. So that's what in chapter 11 is telling you in Isaiah. He says he's not going to judge by his own sight, but by righteousness, because this is where Most High imputed righteousness on him after he died. That's who coming back. And so many people got a problem with David because they think saying that what he done with Bathsheba and all the things he did, that he can't be the Messiah. But when you understand what happened, and understand what the scriptures telling you, then you understand that he is the Messiah. Okay. So anyway, we go back to start reading. The seed royal is out of David's lineage because David is the Messiah. David was the only king. Every king after David was out of his lineage. But David was the original. Okay, so let me get it. Chapter 11. So this woman understood that soon as, because her son got killed, Now she want to cut off the lineage of David right here. It says that when Adler, the mother of Ahaz, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. So she trying to cut off David's lineage. Okay, so the seed royal is all the sons of Ahaz. Ahaz had a bunch of sons, right? So go to chapter verse 2, and Jehazabah, I can't say that name, Jehazabah, Jesheba, the daughter of King Jerom, sister of Ahaz, took Josh, the son of Ahaz, and stole him from among the king's sons. See, that's a seed royal, the king's sons, which were slain. And they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bedchamber from Adler, so that he was not slain. So this is the Most High right here. This is tender mercies. She thought she had killed all of them, but the Lord used Ahaz's sister, and she hid one of the boys, because you're not gonna usurp the Most High word. He says there's always gonna be a seed on the throne like David lineage. Okay, so we see right there the Most High, the Lord always at work right here. So verse 3, and he was with her hid in the house of the Lord 6 years, and Adler did reign over the land. And the 7th year, check it out, you see that? A week of years, right? Verse 3, and he was hid in the house of the Lord 6 years, right? And Adler did reign over, so you want to know how long she reigned? It was 7 years, right? 6 years. And Adler did reign over the land. And in the 7th year was the hand of the Lord. 7th year, Jediah sent and fetched the rulers over hundreds and the captains and the guards, and brought them to him into the house of the Lord, and made a covenant with them. And they took an oath of them in the house of the Lord, and showed them the king's son. See that? So right here, like I was saying, it's a breach. Them 6 years or 7 years that she reigned was a breach in Israel, because here go the seed right here. It says in the house of the Lord, and showed them. See, that they all understood that we don't understand that we've been discombobulated, but they all of them understood this. It says, and the house of the Lord, and they showed them the king's son, right? And he commanded them, saying, this is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you that enter in on the Sabbath day shall be keepers of the watch of the king's house. And the third part shall be at the gate of Shur, and the third part at the gate behind the guard, so that ye keep the watch of the house, that it be not broken down, right? And 2 parts of you, and 2 parts of all you that go forth on the Sabbath, even they shall keep the watch of the house of the Lord about the king. See that? This is how important this is. This boy, okay? And it's no different than Zerubbabel, right? It says 8, and ye shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapon in his hand, and he that cometh within the reins, let him be slain, and be ye with the king as he goeth out and as he cometh in. And the captains over the hundreds did according to all the things that Jediah the priest, okay, commanded, and they took every man his men that were to come in on the Sabbath with them that should go out on the Sabbath, and came to Jediah the priest, and to the captains over hundreds did the priest give to King David's spears and shields that were in the temple of the Lord. And the guard stood every man with his weapon in his hand round about the king, from the right corner of the temple to the left corner of the temple, along by the altar and the temple. So right here, okay, look at all the preparations they did to protect the son of David. Now go to the New Testament. And then all this right here was the Lord of hosts set all this up. Told them how to do all this. Now we go to the New Testament, but JC, he getting slapped around, beat with a cat of nine tails. Let that ferment. Okay? So anyway, 12. And he brought forth the king's son and put the crown upon him and gave him the testimony, and they made him king and anointed him, and they clapped their hands and said, God save the king. God save the king. Okay? But he gave JC up, right? And when Adler heard the noise of the guards and of the people, she came to the people into the temple of the Lord. And when she looked, behold, the king stood by the pillar, as the manner was, and the princes and the trumpeters by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced and blew with the trumpet. And Adler rent her clothes and cried, treason, treason. But Jedediah the priest commanded the captains of the hundreds and the officers of the host, and said unto them, have her forth without range, and him that followed her kill with the sword. For the priest had said, let her not be slain in the house of the Lord. And they laid hands on her, and she went by the way by which the horses came into the king's house, and there she was slain. And Jedediah made a covenant between the Lord and the king and the people, that they should be the Lord's people, because between the king also and the people. So, like I said before, I'm gonna read it again in a minute, but this boy 8 years old. Okay, he's 8 years old right now, verse 16. And they laid hands on her. She went by the way of by the way which the horses came in the king's house, and there she was slain. Now here you go. Now this is the high priest. And Jedediah made a covenant between the Lord and the king. He's 8 years old, right? And the people. And they should be the large people, between the king also and the people. And all the people of the land went into the house of Baal and break it down, his altars and his images broke they in pieces thoroughly, and slew Mattan, the priest of Baal, between the altars. And the priest appointed officers over the house of the Lord. And he took the rulers, over hundreds, and the captains and the guard and all the people of the land, and they brought down the king from the house of the Lord, and came by the way of the gate of the guard to the king's house, and he sat on the throne of the kings, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was in quiet, and they slew Adler with the sword beside the king's house. 7 years old, there it is, see that? 7 years old was Joash when he began to reign. Let that ferment. And look at the value they put on us now. But this boy 7 years old, sitting in the place of David. Okay. So I'm gonna read chapter 2. This is some of the stuff he done. I'll read it. It says, in the 7th year of Joash began to reign, and 40 years he reigned. This boy reigned 40 years in Jerusalem, and his mother name was Ziba of Bathsheba. And Jehoshaphat did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. All his days wherein Jehoiada the priest instructed him, but the high places were not taken away, and the people still sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places. So anybody know what a high place is?
Could that be like the sacred places?
Okay, what is the angels come down on the mountains, right? And the fallen angels, when they came down from heaven,
Yes.
they came down on top of the mountains, and then from the mountains they came down into the cities and sleeping with the women and stuff, choosing women and messing with the women. So they got the giants, so the giants would go up in the mountains where their fathers was at and worship them in the mountain. So that's on a
Pagan
plateau.
worship, yeah.
On a plateau. That's where they came. Mount Hermon, it was a plateau. So high places is up in the mountains because that's where these angels at and where these giants at. So they would take their children up there and sacrifice them in high places. Okay, so it says verse 3, but the high places were not taken away, and the people still sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places. So what they sacrificing? Kids, children, burning them in the fire to these angels and to these giants. Okay, and Joash said to the priest, all the money of the dedicated things that were brought into the house of the Lord, even the money of everyone that passes the account, the money that every man is set at, and all the money that cometh into any man's heart to bring into the house of the Lord. Let the priest take it to them, every man of acquaintance, and let them repair the breaches of the house. Whatsoever any breach shall be found. But it was so that in the 23rd year of the king Joash, the priest had not repaired the breaches of the house. Then the king Joash called for Jediah the priest and the other priests and said unto them, why repair ye not the breaches of the house? Now therefore receive no more money of your acquaintance, but deliver it for the breaches of the house. And the priest consented to receive no more money of the people, neither to repair the breaches of the house. But Jediah, the priest, took a chest, bored a hole in the lid of it, set it beside the altar on the right side as one cometh in the house of the Lord. And the priest that kept the door put therein all the money that was brought into the house of the Lord. And it was so, when they saw that there was much money in the chest, that the king's scribe and the high priest came up, and they put it in bags and told the money that was found in the house of the Lord. So you see where they get it from in the church house, right? They got it from right here. Getting offerings, bringing around a plate or whatever, but right here they took a chest, put a hole in it, and everybody would come in and put money in the chest, right? It's Hebrew. Anyway, chapter 11, and they gave the money being told into the hands of them that did the work and had the oversight of the house of the Lord, and they laid it out for the carpenters and the builders and wrought upon the house of the Lord, and to masons, hewers of stone, and to buy timber and hew stone to repair the breaches of the house of the Lord, and for all that was laid out for the house to repair it. Howbeit, there was not made for the house of the Lord bowls of silver, snuffers, basins, trumpets, any vessels of gold or vessels of silver, of the money that was brought into the house of the Lord. But they gave that to the workmen and repaired therewith the house of the Lord. Moreover, they reckoned not with the men into whose hand they delivered the money to be bestowed on the workmen, for they dealt faithfully. Trespass money, sin money was not brought into the house of the Lord, it was the priest. Then Hazael, king of Syria, went up and fought against Gath and took it, and Hazael set his face to go up to Jerusalem. And Joash, king of Judah, took all the hollow things that Jehoshaphat and Jehoram and Ahaziah, his father's kings of Judah, had dedicated, and his own hollow things, and all the gold that was found in the treasury of the house of the Lord, and in the house, in the king's house, and sent it to Hazael, king of Syria, and he went away from Jerusalem. And the rest of the acts of Joash and all that he did, are they not written in the books of the chronicles of the kings of Judah? And his servants arose and made a conspiracy and slew Joash in the house of Milo, was gored down to Selah. For Josiah, the son of Shemeth, and Jehazabad, the son of Shum, his servants smote him, and he died, and they buried him with his fathers in the city of David, and Amasa, his son, reigned in his stead. Okay, so that was chapter 2. Anybody have chapter 2 of, chapter 12 of 2 Kings? Any questions or comments on that before we go?
Shalom. I have a comment. Let's go back to when we went to 2 Samuel with Eli and his sons, and how when when his mama Hannah gave him up to the Lord and took him to the priest, who was Eli, who had those 10 sons, and those ones were doing the same thing, taking the goods from the storehouse when they brought them in, and they would take the best of the best and then try and give the Lord what was rest that would be rotten or whatever, not the good stuff, and then even Samuel, 2 sons, did pretty much like the same. They didn't, follow. So it does have a little bit of it, spilling over to these king's sons who were doing the wrong thing as well, and getting, getting judgment for it, and the Lord of hosts killing them and destroying them, as well, as they try to, their fathers were kings, and then, when their fathers left and they were doing the wrong thing as well. So it just kind of goes back to that too, following the sons not doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. But so you can see the hand of the Lord in that. Like today, that's what's on nobody. Like this guy, what this guy just done when the king of Assyria came there. He's not going back on and looking at all what his forefathers said about the Lord of hosts, and that he's capable of defending him. He ran and got a whole bunch of gold and silver and all that out of the temple and gave it to him to lead. Just like I was saying about the Pharaoh. They even seen the things that the God had done in the past, what their fathers told them, but you keep going to the Pharaoh begging him instead of dealing with the Lord of hosts. But anyway, that's what I was saying. I made a point about understanding the power that the Lord of hosts possess. So the covenant he got with David is that he always gonna leave us. He always gonna he gonna raise the son up with the same countenance, the same DNA, same countenance that David had. So we going and then so you have to look at that same with Aaron. The 2 anointed ones in Israel, you got a David and Aaron. So there's gonna be some wicked ones in there, but the Lord of hosts controlling the DNA, because every so often he's gonna bring a son out of David's loins just like him. That's the covenant. If people overlook that, you have wicked ones, but he gonna raise one up just like David. So that's who Solomon started out. He was like David, but then you had 3 or 4 wicked ones. Then you had Hezekiah. Then you had Josiah. So that's the covenant. Those righteous kings that come, he raised them up. He controlling the DNA. They just like David. They would bring Israel back to the days of David. They would renew everything in Israel.
Yes, sir. Just like you go back to the garden again, with the good, the bad, the ugly, but the Cain and Abel, the good one, the bad one, and
Right.
from the same, mother. So and yes, sir. So it just
Right.
continues to follow on and on.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And that's how you write. That's how you today when you start dealing with people and they're not getting it. It's not meant for them to get it. You know what I'm saying? He says
Yes, sir.
he got to. So it ain't nothing that we can do. It's if you want to open their eyes up, he gonna open their eyes up. If he don't, then it's nothing but for us to do except keep
All
moving.
praises.
That's
Yes,
how it
sir.
works. Exactly. Yeah. You're giving the power and authority to where it belongs with him. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else got anything else before we go?
Shalom. Yes, sir. I have one thing. When you was reading out of Isaiah, right, chapter, it says a stem out of Jesse, right, not David. And throughout the Old Testament, even with they want to put whatever twist they want to put on it, JC is not mentioned as David's son anywhere in the Old Testament.
Right.
So my thing is, and to another thing, he is not like David at all.
Right.
He has no characteristics of David at all. So
Exactly.
in the Old Testament, David is David, right? He's not Jeremiah, he's not Isaiah, he's not Hosea, he's not nobody else but David. But in the New Testament, JC is everybody,
Right.
depending on the story. So it
Exactly.
just does not fit at all. He's not hidden anywhere. He's not. That's not the way the Lord of Hosts works.
Exactly. Yeah, like I
I agree
said,
with you.
like I said when we read when we was just reading, look at all the stint they went through to protect that seed of David on the
Right.
throne. And then now you come to the New Testament and look what happened to him. The same God that instructed them to do what they did with Joash, but now JC, he's supposed to be the promised seed from way back in Genesis when he told the serpent, thy seed and her seed, but then he get there and this is what happened to him. Heaven.
Right.
That's a disgrace to all the angels, righteous angels, and heaven and all that for him to get beat down.
Right. And then he come along and tell you the law has been done away. Right. David would never say that. Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. It don't go along with, and then we see that what these people was doing, they were shedding blood. Like we just saw, they taking babies up to these fallen angels and sacrificing them on the fire, shedding blood. We don't see the Israelites doing that. Not the righteous Israelites. And the righteous angels, they ain't shed ain't no blood being shed in that manner, violently like that. It's crazy. Is there something?
It is.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so anybody else got anything else before we go?
Well, I have a comment that the good news is that we know and we are able to connect those dots and clearly see that the Lord of hosts is not a changing God, not a changing person like they put him in spirit, like they put him in the New Testament, where like Sister Michelle says that like he's going to forgive all. No, he has a job like we first established in the garden, and he has a responsibility like the other angels to do what thus says Yahweh, and that's what they're doing, and that's a good thing. Yes,
Bring
sir.
judgment. Exactly. Right. Okay. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
All right. So with that being said, let's say Shalom.